Okay, we're on to what should be part 6 on this shower build. If you haven't seen the other videos, I have an in-depth series here of my latest project, which was a tiny shower with a cool glass corner, totally opened up the room, changed everything while keeping a small footprint. Anyway, in this video, we're doing the curb and the jamb. There's only one jamb, basically, where our glass dies into, or one non-tiled jamb, and it's made of Decton. Same rules go for, or the same installation goes for granite, marble, any solid surface that you use. But I do recommend, and I don't say always because there's no rules, every project gets a new thought process, but I do recommend a solid surface so you don't have all those grout lines or chances for tile to break or grout lines to break when your custom glass goes in. So a solid surface, you only have joints at the bottom where you meet your walls, which should be caulked, not grouted, because if they're grouted, they'll get a hairline crack and you'll have leakage right away. You'll have water in your walls and outside of your shower. Anyway, enough about that. Let's put in these pieces of Decton. Their matte black finish looks phenomenal on this project. You don't know this, but some time has passed. There was a delay, or I should say our stone company just didn't make the pieces that I needed for the shower, and once they didn't have them, it messed up my schedule. So now I'm back to wrap this up. We have our pieces of Decton for the shower. The pieces are about 1/2 inch. They go by millimeters, so I forget what the millimeters are, but I had 6-inch pieces ordered for our curb, and then some smaller pieces to build a niche, and I had to wait on finishing the shower, all of our edge pieces that go around this area to do that. So when that messed up my schedule, I just had to reschedule coming back here. Anyway, we have them. I pre-cut what I need for the shower curb, which is a 45-degree miter because we have a little L on our curb. So we're gonna put that in, and this is the Decton. It's a nice matte black, and given the style of our room, I should cover my face. It's a great choice. So let's do it. Okay, let's get these in. Okay, nothing too complicated. Obviously, we want to be level this way, and this piece level that way. And then we have to put a pitch on them rolling inward so our water always goes in. I would like to say obviously, but so many times you see them installed flat. Causes problems if it's installed flat and you have a hairline crack somewhere. Water will seep in, seep out of your shower. A lot of times if you have a leak coming out of your shower, that's why. Something was grouted that should have been caulked, and a crack developed, and then it sneaks out behind the tile and comes back out. Anyway, I'm going to put thinset on my curb and on the back here. I'm going to put a little bit more thinset on the outside of the curb. So I'm going to trowel and then lift and like leave some kind of hump here so that I'm already forcing a pitch, and then I'll play with it. I'll have enough mud on there to play with it. I'm trying to be neat so I don't get thinset inside the shower. Again, this is not the size trowel I want to have. This is a 1/4 inch. I didn't bring everything I need. I'm only here to do this shower this weekend, and I tried to bring minimal tools, so I can deal with it. So let's put an even amount. Let's start by being even. Put my extra over there. And now let's get, from the halfway mark, maybe I'll do a little jump. Or skip. That's how I get extra anywhere or anytime. Now let's mud this I'm only sticking towards the middle because I have an overhang that's not touching anything. And I'm also going to have ooze. I hope that's enough thin set. Really, I prefer a larger trowel, but let's flip that on there, just set it down. Right away, I'm just going to run my finger to make sure that it's clean because I'm putting my tape measure there. I'm going to be moving this around a lot, but I just want to get a feel. Give it a little wiggle, pushing more to the inside. I'm basically just checking everything multiple times, making sure I have a pitch, which I do. That would be level, so that's pitched. Let's get our side piece in so we can play with that. We have ooze. So I'm totally prepared for a little mess here with the oozing because I need that play to get things right. So it's not always glamorous and perfectly measured and easy looking. Frustration is the word. I hate to sound like I'm complaining though. Okay, there's too much thin set on this little guy. I just want to clean a lot of this out before I start playing with it to get the final or perfect position. So, because I know as I play around, more is going to be oozing out. Now, this guy is a little high on the side. It is pitched. This is meeting up nicely. That's a good sign. Alright, let me do more cleaning. The cleaning is not only, to clean, it's also because I have to tuck tile up under here, and if there's thin set pouring out when it dries, that'll be a nightmare to get rid of that, to get tile all the way up. Tomorrow will be a nightmare, so it's actually a good idea to take a perfect 90-degree angle, like a scrap of something, and run it underneath that to get all of that extra off that would be in my way when it dries tomorrow. So that's a major thing, because if you forget that and you have to tile tomorrow, you're gonna be dying on the inside. All right, let's get this into perfect position. And around there. You also have to be careful because these float around, especially since they're on a tilt. and especially when they're heavier. These are only 1/2 inch, but you know, they can slide while they dry. So I usually do this where I can, at a time of day when I can like go back to it and keep checking on it. I don't just do this at the end of the day and leave. Okay, now I am going to just constantly keep cleaning. Watch my ooze. It keeps oozing. I feel like a broken record. Keep saying that. Keep cleaning. I get the underneath. I want to get everything. I want to. No problems tomorrow. Inside. And keep checking. So. Put a spacer in here just so we know it's even. I'm going to keep checking this. That's what it takes to have nice things. Okay, bye. Okay, next morning. This is dry, what we put in yesterday, our curb. Okay, of course you can see that. I'm going to start, as I always do, by cleaning up what I did yesterday, just so I can wipe it down and feel good and less frustrated, and a nice mentally clear start to my day. And then we're going to, let's see, obviously I have to finish all the squares everywhere, but we're going to put in this big piece. This is from the curb all the way up to the ceiling, another piece of this black Decton. So that will finally cover up the ugliness, start to make this look like a real shower. And then I don't know, I think a few hundred cuts on these tiny tiles to wrap it up. So, let's clean this up. I also picked up some wedge spacers this morning. This ridiculous folded paper isn't going to cut it. So now I can properly wedge. Alright, it's a shower. Tough angle, you're out in the hallway, in the kitchen actually, but I just want to show how nice it is when one big piece can totally change everything. Now we really feel like we're finishing. All of a sudden, we look finished. Oh, all right. Let's put it in. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that piece in. Obviously, I'm going to thin set the wall. I'm going to thin set the back of that Decton. And then, obviously, it has to be level this way and this way. And to do that, I'm going to use 2 of these little wedge spacers on the bottom. Basically, I cut it 1/8 of an inch short. That lets me get it in there. And remember, the curb itself was pitched a little bit. So on the right hand side, I cut 89 1/8 inches, and on the left hand side it was 89. That makes up for my pitch so that this fits nicely. I don't just want to cut it square and then have an uneven gap and fill it with caulk. So it's actually cut to the pitch by 1/8 of an inch. I just want to say that out loud so you know, because like I've said before, I don't film every single little thing. You don't see those close-ups of my cuts all the time. So once it's in, I'm going to lift it up a little bit with a wedge spacer for a caulk joint, and that's it. I just wanted to say all that out loud in case I can't talk while I'm doing it. By the way, no mic again today, just the shotgun mic on top. And I do that because when I go in and out, my mic loses Bluetooth connection, and sometimes I lose all my audio and I'm just talking in silence on my footage, so gotta figure that out. Let's put this thin set here, then in the other room laying down on the floor, because I don't want to lean it up against the wall. If I put pressure on that, I could break it. So it's on a flat surface. And also, since I'm saying that out loud, when I carry a long piece like that, I would never carry it flat, right? I would never walk around like this. I always walk around like this. So the weight, if it's teeter-tottering on that 8 feet long piece, this is stronger than this. This would snap. This is harder to snap. Hope that makes sense, but I like to think that it's helpful to say all these little things. That's why I started this whole channel. Enough yapping. Again, I'm trying to be neat because I don't want thin set falling on my nice floor. I can now stand on my curb because I put it in yesterday. Hopefully this 1/4 inch on both surfaces is enough for play. The wall is pretty square. The stud in there was pretty good, so I shouldn't have to make up for major differences. But I do want to make sure it's sitting square to my curb on the ground, so I should have enough play. Okay. I am thin setted. Get this in the room. Okay, let's see. So that's not gonna fall. Let's move the camera. First of all, I have to grab my 4-foot level. Okay. So just sitting in place, it's perfect. So I know I can evenly push it in. So I'm just gonna wiggle it back and forth, up and down, or as I go up and down, not wiggling it up and down, wiggling this way from the top to the bottom. I'm also right now just gonna push it up a little bit and put in my 2 little spacers on the bottom. And that's an unknown amount. They're just in there because now I'm gonna play with the left and right. Good-ish. Again, I just wanna wiggle it, get it in there. I want nice solid contact because the glass guys are going to be drilling into this and screwing in the clips of the glass. Okay, let's check. Make sure we're still plumb. To the normal eye, we're flawless, but to my eye, we could go a hair in on the top. That's good. Looks great. Now, we're going to go this way. Obviously, we have to look good this way. This is where we manipulate the spacers. Hold on. So I'm tilted a little bit the wrong way this way. I'm going to just wedge this left-hand spacer in more. Obviously that should help me out. Well, that was easy. I'm flawless now. So I'm just gonna wipe it down, keep double checking. And I want to show you one more thing, but I need a closer camera angle. So here's what I want to show. When I had these pieces made, I didn't just order all 6-inch pieces. I ordered 6-inch for the bottom, and then this side one, I knew I wanted a slight overhang underneath, just like a windowsill would have an overhang or a reveal. And that was especially because on this side, we just have wall. On this side, we have tile, and down here, we have tile on both sides. But if I had a huge, if I did the full 6 inches on this side, I would have had a huge overhang over the drywall. And although you don't see it, like, unless you're using the toilet, it was just ridiculously large. And so I'm glad I didn't just continue that 6-inch all the way up. I cut it a little bit short, and now we have a nice reveal on each side. And if you can see, hopefully you can see, I also rounded both edges here, so it's not sharp. So I've talked through most of the main points. We put in our huge pieces. Can you see? Yeah, just did it. Just put in that piece. There's no big major discussion until I build the niche. I can talk about that right now. I'm filling in everywhere, which is such a pain. I'm cutting around. I'm dealing with pieces like this. So, and that's because obviously the reason I get this in first is so that our wall overlaps the curb. It's certainly easier, and this is with benches too. It's totally easier to just tile your wall straight, and then template your solid surfaces, your granite, whatever, to just slip right in and then caulk. But in my eyes, when you're dealing with water, right? Let's say you finish your wall first, and you put in a thing after, water can go straight down. So the second you have a failure in that caulk, you're getting water right in there. With an overhang, if you put this in first and then your wall on top, you can fill that whole joint with caulk, so you have thickness of caulk, but it's also, if there's failure, you also have that slight chance that the overhang is going to help a little bit before it goes under, back. So anyway, it's like roofers overlap everything, they don't just caulk stuff. So that's what I always do no matter what. I have about 300 pieces to cut. Not going to show it all, so I'll probably see you when we tackle the niche. And caulk, and grout, and the woodwork in the room, and paint, and then I'm done. So that's our curb and our jamb. Obviously in this project we only had the one jamb because the other wall was tile coming out into the room. And by the way, that's why this shower looks so big in the end, because we brought the tile 5 feet into the room instead of stopping at the 3-foot shower. Anyway, next video is the same material in the niche, and it looks incredible. So watch that one if you want to see the special cuts I make to make it happen. Otherwise, watch all the other videos. Subscribe to this new channel. Like all the videos because it's helping me out.